My wife said, "You never do anything right." Couples therapist asked her to name one thing I do wrong. Silence. The silence isn't the peaceful kind. It's thick and humiliating, like the air has turned to glue. Dr. Patel is still looking at my wife, pen hovering over her notepad, waiting. My wife's mouth is open just enough that I can see she was ready to keep going, ready to list every supposed failure I've ever committed in our marriage. And then the question lands, and she can't grab it. She blinks fast. Her jaw tightens. Her eyes flick to me for half a second, like she's checking if I'm smirking. I'm not. I'm sitting with my hands locked together, so hard my knuckles are white, staring at the carpet, because if I look up, I might break into either laughter or tears, and I don't trust which one will happen. Dr. Patel doesn't rescue her. That's the brutal part. She just waits calm, like she's giving my wife time to find the words that should be easy if they're true. My wife finally swallows and says, he just never. And then she stops again because never is one of those words you can't follow with a real example without exposing yourself. Her foot taps against the leg of the chair. I can hear it through the quiet like a metronome. My chest feels tight, not triumphant, not vindicated, just raw. Because I know what's coming after this session. I know she's going to take this moment, this one tiny crack where her usual certainty slips, and she's going to blame me for it. She's going to say, I set her up. She's going to say, I made her look bad. And the worst part is I can already feel the old reflex in me, the one that wants to soothe her, make it okay, fix it, even though I'm the one bleeding. It was a Wednesday night when we booked the first appointment, and I remember it because we did it in the car outside a grocery store with the engine running, both of us staring forward like two people trying not to admit we were lost. We just had another fight in the cereal aisle, not a screaming match. Those came later, behind closed doors, but that sharp, efficient kind of conflict where she corrects me in a low voice with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. I'd picked the wrong brand. The too sugary one. The one she claims I always pick because I don't pay attention. I put it back without arguing because that's what I do now. I adjust, I apologize, I minimize, I move on. But I could feel something in me fraying. We got to the checkout, and she sighed loudly, like my existence was an inconvenience. In the car, before we even pulled out, she said, I can't do this anymore. You're exhausting. And something in me, something tired and stubborn, said, then let's talk to someone. A therapist. Because I can't do this either. We've been married 7 years. Together for 9. Her name is Claire. She's smart, competent, organized, the kind of person who keeps a color-coded calendar and remembers everyone's birthdays and can walk into a room and immediately sense who's in charge. People love her. She's charming in public in a way that makes you feel chosen when she focuses on you. She's also the kind of person who thinks she's always right, and when she's stressed, that turns into something sharper. When we were dating, I used to tell myself it was just her intensity, her standards. I admired it. I work in logistics. I'm not a mess, but I'm not wired like her. I'm more steady than precise. I like routines. I like peace. When Claire was happy, she was a force. When she wasn't, she made sure everyone around her felt it too. The "you never do anything right" thing didn't start as a headline. It started as jokes, little corrections. Babe, you loaded the dishwasher like a raccoon. How do you always manage to fold towels like that? It's adorable that you tried. The first time she said, adorable, I laughed because I thought it was flirting. I didn't hear the way it positioned me beneath her. Then we moved in together, and the jokes became commentary. The commentary became sighs. The sighs became lectures. At first, I tried to meet her where she was. She wants the pantry organized? Fine. I'll label things. She wants the towels folded a certain way? Fine. Show me. She wants the bills paid on a specific day, even though autopay exists? Fine. I'll do it. I thought that was marriage. Learning each other, adjusting, compromising. The thing I didn't understand is that there was no finish line. There was no point where I'd learn enough to be safe. The target moved depending on her mood. If I cooked dinner, she'd inspect it like a restaurant critic. You didn't season the chicken enough. Why is the rice mushy? You know, I don't like when the vegetables are overcooked. If I didn't cook, she'd say, so I have to do everything. If I cleaned, she'd find something I missed. If I didn't clean, she'd point at the dust like evidence. If I tried to talk about how I felt, she'd say I was being sensitive. If I stayed quiet, she'd accuse me of shutting down. The longer we were together, the more I started to believe her version of me. That's the part that scares me now when I look back. I started thinking, maybe I am incompetent, maybe I am lazy, maybe I am the problem, and she's just responding to it. I'm not an idiot. I know what emotional abuse is in theory. But when it's your life, it doesn't come with a warning label. It comes wrapped in, I just want us to be better. It comes with, I'm doing this because I care. It comes with apologies that never include actual change. Last year, something shifted. It wasn't one event. It was a build-up. We both work full-time. No kids. We should have had space to enjoy life. Instead, our home felt like a job site. Claire's job got more demanding, and she started bringing that energy home. Everything urgent, everything measured, everything a performance review. She'd walk in and immediately scan the room. If the throw pillows weren't placed right, she'd fix them with this tight little movement that was half annoyance, half proof. She'd look at me and say, "What did you do today?" Not, "How was your day?" Not, "How are you?" "What did you do?" I started dreading the sound of her key in the lock. I'd feel my body tense before I even registered why. I'd do little frantic chores before she got home, not because they needed doing, but because I wanted to reduce the chances of her being irritated. It never worked because she could always find something. Sometimes she'd hover while I was doing something and correct me in real time. Not like that. "Why are you doing it that way?" "Let me. It's faster." Then she'd turn around and say, "I can't rely on you," like I had chosen to be pushed aside. I didn't tell anyone. That's another part I'm ashamed of. My friends like Claire. My parents thought I was lucky to have someone driven. And I didn't have language for the way I felt. I felt small. I felt watched. I felt like I was constantly trying to pass a test I didn't understand. And every time I considered bringing it up, I could hear Claire's voice in my head. "You're exaggerating. You make me the villain. You're so dramatic." The night I suggested therapy in the grocery store parking lot, Claire stared at me like I'd suggested we call the police on each other. Then she said, "Fine. If you want someone to tell you what you're doing wrong, let's go." That's how we ended up in Dr. Patel's office, week after week. At first, Claire performed therapy. She spoke smoothly about communication issues and carrying the mental load. She used phrases she'd clearly picked up online. She cried at the right moments. She described me as a good guy who just doesn't get it. And I sat there nodding because I didn't want to be the difficult one. I didn't want to take up space. I kept thinking if I could just explain myself correctly, Claire would finally see me. Then, slowly, Dr. Patel started asking different questions. Not, "How can he help more?" but "What happens inside you when you feel things aren't done the right way?" Not, "Why don't you listen?" but "What do you believe it means if he doesn't do it exactly as you would?" And Claire would stiffen, because those questions pointed back at her. 2 sessions ago, Claire had come in hot. She'd been furious because I didn't call the plumber exactly when she wanted. The pipe under the sink was leaking. I noticed it first, put a bowl under it, turned off the valve, and texted her, "Sink is leaking. I'm calling a plumber." She replied, "Call now." I was in a meeting. I called at lunch. The plumber came the next day. Claire acted like I'd set the house on fire. She said in the therapy office, "He just doesn't care. If he cared, he would do it immediately." I have to micromanage everything. I tried to explain the timeline. Claire cut me off. "Stop defending yourself," she snapped. Dr. Patel held up a hand and said, "Claire, I'd like you to let him finish." Claire rolled her eyes. Dr. Patel turned to Claire and said, "When you say he doesn't care, what evidence are you using?" Claire stared at her. "I just know," she said. Dr. Patel nodded slowly. "Let's try something different," she said. "Name one thing he did in that situation that was objectively wrong." Claire opened her mouth and then closed it. "He waited," she said finally. Dr. Patel said, "He called at lunch the same day. The plumber came the next day. The leak was contained. Where's the wrong decision?" Claire's face tightened. "He should have prioritized it," she snapped. Dr. Patel asked, "Over his meeting?" Claire said, "Yes." Dr. Patel leaned back. "So the belief is, if he cares, he must drop everything immediately. Is that accurate?" Claire didn't answer. She looked at me like this was my fault. I should have recognized that moment as a turning point, but I still wasn't ready. I still hoped therapy would magically make Claire kinder without me having to face what that meant if it didn't. Today's session, the one we're in now, started because of a fight over something so stupid I almost didn't mention it. We were getting ready for dinner at my coworker's house. I ironed my shirt. I packed a bottle of wine. I wrapped it in that crinkly gift bag Claire likes. I even remembered the little card. Claire came out of the bedroom, saw the bag, and said, "You picked the cheap one." I said, "It's the one they like. Mark mentioned it last time." Claire sighed dramatically. "You always miss the point," she said. "It's not about what they like, it's about what it says about us." I felt my face get hot. "It's wine," I said, and then she said it. That line she uses when she wants to end the argument by turning me into a defect. "You never do anything right." Something in me snapped, not into violence or yelling, but into clarity. "That's not true," I said, "and I'm tired of you talking to me like that." Claire's eyes widened like I'd hit her. Then she laughed. "Oh my God," she said. "Here we go. You're going to be dramatic again." So I brought it up in session. My voice was shaking. "My throat hurt. She says that a lot." I told Dr. Patel. "She says I never do anything right. She says I'm useless. That I make her life harder." Claire leaned forward, smiling like a teacher about to correct a student. "Because it's true," she said. Dr. Patel didn't react. She simply turned to Claire and asked, "Okay, name one thing he does wrong." And that's where we are. This unbearable silence. This moment where the accusation finally has to produce an example, and it can't. Claire's cheeks flush. "This is ridiculous," she says finally, voice sharp. He's sitting there like, Dr. Patel interrupts gently. "Claire, one thing. Specific. Concrete." Claire's hands tighten on the armrests. He doesn't take initiative," she says, grasping. "I have to ask him for everything." My stomach sinks because I know what's coming. I'll list the things I do. She'll dismiss them. We'll spin. But Dr. Patel asks, "What is one thing you asked him to do that he did wrong?" Claire's mouth opens, closes. She looks at me again, searching for a flaw she can hold up like a trophy. "He cleans, but not properly," she says. Dr. Patel nods. "What does properly mean in that context?" Claire's eyes flash. "It means thoroughly," she says, frustrated. Dr. Patel says, "Give me an example of something he did that was not thorough." Claire stares. Her breathing is faster now. "You're ganging up on me," she says, voice rising. Dr. Patel stays calm. "I'm not. I'm asking you to support your statement with an example, the way we do when we're trying to solve a problem. If you can't name one concrete example, we have to consider the possibility that the statement, 'you never do anything right,' is not about his behavior. It's about something else." Claire's face is tight, like she's chewing something sour. "So now it's my fault," she says. Dr. Patel says, "I didn't say fault. I said we need to locate what's happening." I feel like I'm watching a dam crack. Claire's eyes shine. She looks at the ceiling for a second, and I can tell she's fighting for control. Then she turns to me and says, with quiet venom, "You love this. You love making me look crazy." My throat closes. I want to say I don't. I want to say I hate this. I want to say I would rather be anywhere else. But I also feel something else under the fear, anger. Not explosive anger. A clean, exhausted anger. Dr. Patel says, "Claire, that's a strong accusation. What makes you believe he's trying to make you look crazy?" Claire laughs again, brittle. "Because he brings these things up here," she says, gesturing at me like I'm a lawyer. "He sits there acting calm while I'm the only one who cares. He wants you to think I'm a monster." Dr. Patel looks at me. "How are you feeling right now?" she asks. And this is where I almost ruin it, because the truth is I don't know how to answer without making it worse. I'm used to making myself small. I'm used to saying, "It's fine." I'm used to smoothing. But Dr. Patel is looking at me like she actually wants the truth, like the truth matters here. I feel confused, I say slowly. Because I do care. I care a lot. I try so hard. And it still feels like I'm failing all the time. Like I'm constantly being graded. Claire scoffs. "Oh my God," she mutters. Dr. Patel doesn't flinch. "Claire," she says, When you hear him say that, what comes up for you? Claire's eyes narrow. I don't believe him, she says immediately. Dr. Patel nods. Okay, what do you believe instead? Claire hesitates. I believe he doesn't try, she says. I believe if he tried, I wouldn't feel so alone. Dr. Patel asks, what does alone mean for you? Claire's face shifts slightly, like the question has slipped under her armor. It means... She starts, then stops. Her foot starts tapping again. It means I have to think about everything. I have to hold everything in my head. Dr. Patel says, and when you feel that pressure, you turn it into criticism of him. Claire's eyes flash. Because he should help, she snaps. Dr. Patel says, he does help. He just doesn't do it exactly your way. And you interpret that as not helping. Claire sits back, breathing hard, jaw clenched. She looks like someone who just realized the room is not going to bend around her the way it usually does. The rest of the session is a blur of Dr. Patel talking about global statements, contempt, repair attempts, and respect. She doesn't label Claire as abusive, not directly, but she doesn't sugarcoat it either. She says, when you tell your partner he never does anything right, you are attacking his character, not addressing a behavior. That erodes safety. That creates resentment and shutdown. Claire crosses her arms. I sit there feeling like my insides have been exposed to air. When we leave the office, Claire is quiet in the elevator, but it's not calm. It's the kind of quiet that vibrates. The doors open in the lobby, and the second we step outside, she turns on me. What the hell was that? She hisses, walking fast toward the car. I follow, heart pounding. It was therapy, I say too flat. You embarrass me, she snaps. You set me up. You made me look like I'm some kind of... She searches for the word. Abuser. I stop next to the car. The cold air hits my face. I didn't make you say anything, I say quietly. You said I never do anything right. She throws her hands up. Because you don't, she says automatically, and then she stops, like she realizes she just did it again, and her face flushes with rage. See? This is what you do, she says. You twist things. Isteria. My chest feels tight, but something else is happening too. The spell is weakening. Dr. Patel asked for one example, and Claire couldn't provide it. Not because I'm perfect. I'm not. I forget things. I'm sometimes slow to act. I leave socks on the floor. I'm human. But never do anything right is not a statement of fact. It's a weapon. I'm not twisting, I say. I'm repeating what you say to me. Claire's eyes narrow. So now you're going to punish me, she says, voice low. I'm not punishing you, I reply. I'm tired. She stares at me for a long moment, breathing hard, then gets into the car and slams the door. The drive home is silent except for the turn signal clicking. My hands grip the steering wheel. I can feel Claire's anger like heat off her body. I've done this drive 1,000 times after a fight, the one where I rehearse apologies in my head, try to anticipate what will calm her, try to find the quickest route back to peace. But today something is different. Today, I don't want to apologize for existing. At home, Claire goes straight to the bedroom and shuts the door. Not slams. Shuts. It's almost worse, because it's deliberate. I stand in the kitchen and stare at the counter. There's a dish towel folded neatly, the way she likes. The lights are too bright. I can hear the refrigerator hum. My body feels like it's still in the therapy office, like I'm waiting for the next question. An hour later, she comes out with her arms crossed. So what? She says, leaning against the doorway. You think you're some victim now? The word victim lands like a slap. I think I'm tired of being spoken to like I'm garbage, I say, and my voice cracks slightly on the last word. Claire's expression shifts, something between anger and disbelief. I don't speak to you like garbage, she says. I almost laugh. Not because it's funny, because it's so ridiculous. You told me I never do anything right. I say. You call me useless. You sigh when I walk into a room. You correct me like I'm a child. And when I try to talk about it, you tell me I'm dramatic. Claire's face hardens. So you're keeping a list, she says, contempt dripping from her tone. Great. That's healthy. I'm not keeping a list, I say. I'm remembering. She pushes off the doorway and walks closer. You want to know what I'm remembering? She snaps. I'm remembering how I have to carry everything. I'm remembering how if I don't manage it, it doesn't happen. Like what? I ask, and my voice is calm enough that it surprises me. Name one thing that doesn't happen unless you manage it. Claire's mouth opens, and for a second, I see the exact same pause from the therapy office. The same scramble. The house, she says. What about it? I ask. She glares. You're doing it again, she says. You're trapping me. I'm asking for specifics, I reply. Because I can't fix the house. I can fix please take the trash out on Tuesdays. I can fix please don't leave dishes overnight. But you never do anything right isn't something I can fix. It's just a way to tell me I'm not enough. Claire's eyes shine suddenly, and for a moment, I think she's going to soften. Then she says, coldly, maybe you're not. That sentence sits between us like something poisonous. I feel a strange calm spread through my chest. Not relief, not happiness, just clarity. Okay, I say softly. Claire blinks. Okay, she repeats like she expected me to fight back harder. Okay, I say again. If that's what you believe, then we need to make a plan. Because I'm not going to live like this anymore. Claire's face changes. Don't be dramatic, she snaps. Immediate reflex. I look at her. I'm not. I say. I'm serious. She laughs, short and sharp. What? You're gonna leave, she says, like it's a joke. I don't answer right away, because the truth is I haven't decided everything yet. But I do know one thing. I'm not going back to begging for basic respect. I'm not going back to shrinking myself into whatever shape keeps her calm. I'm going to take a few days, I say. Am I brothers? Claire's eyes widen, and I can see panic under the anger. You can't just walk out, she says. That's not how marriage works. It's not walking out, I say. It's creating space so we can decide what's real. Because right now, the way you talk to me is not okay. Claire's jaw clenches. So you're abandoning me, she says, voice rising. I can feel the old hooks trying to catch. Guilt, responsibility, fear. But Dr. Patel's voice echoes in my head. Global statements, character attacks, contempt. I breathe in slowly. I'm not abandoning you, I say. I'm protecting myself. She stares at me, then turns and walks back into the bedroom, slamming the door this time. I pack a bag with shaking hands. Not because I'm unsure, but because my body is still learning that I'm allowed to do this. I text my brother that I need a place to crash. He replies immediately. Come over. I feel a wave of shame that I'm 35 years old and still asking for a couch. Then I remind myself, this is temporary. This is me stepping out of the storm long enough to see where the damage is coming from. On the drive to my brother's, my phone lights up with messages from Claire. At first it's anger. Unbelievable. You're making this worse. You always run away. Then it shifts into bargaining. We can talk. Come back. I didn't mean it. Then, like a punch to the gut. You're ruining our marriage because you can't handle feedback. I don't reply. I don't trust myself. I keep driving. The first night away, I sleep 12 hours. Not the blissful sleep of a vacation. The heavy, dead sleep of someone whose nervous system has been on high alert for too long. When I wake up, my jaw doesn't hurt. My stomach isn't tight. I don't feel like I'm bracing for the sound of a door. Over the next few days, Claire and I talk on the phone, and every conversation follows the same loop. She starts with, I'm sorry, then pivots into, but you do mess things up, then gets angry that I'm not accepting the apology, then accuses me of being cold. It's like watching someone try to keep control of a narrative even while claiming they want change. I schedule an individual session with Dr. Patel. I tell her everything I've been too embarrassed to say in front of Claire. The dread, the constant criticism, the way I've started doubting my own competence, the way my chest tightens when I hear keys. Dr. Patel listens without interruption, then says, you've been living in a dynamic where you're constantly trying to earn safety. That's not sustainable. Is it abuse? I ask, hating how small my voice sounds. Dr. Patel pauses. I can't diagnose your relationship in one word, she says carefully. But I can say that contempt and character attacks are emotionally harmful. And the pattern you describe, criticism, blame, minimization, then punishment through withdrawal, creates a power imbalance. I swallow. So what do I do? I ask. Dr. Patel says you set boundaries, and you watch what happens when you do. That's the thing about boundaries. They don't change the other person. They reveal them. When I tell Claire I'm willing to continue couples therapy only if she stops using global insults, only if she agrees to speak in specifics and take responsibility, she says, so I have to walk on eggshells now. When I say I want her to attend individual therapy as well, she says, you're pathologizing me. When I say I need her to acknowledge the harm, not just the conflict, she says, you're making me the bad guy. It's exhausting, and it's familiar. And for the first time, I don't accept it as normal. 2 weeks later, we have another couple session. Claire's more control this time. Polite. Careful. She says things like, I'm working on my tone. Dr. Patel asks her what she did when she felt the urge to criticize. Claire says she paused. Dr. Patel asks what she said instead. Claire says, I tried to rephrase. Dr. Patel asks for an example. Claire hesitates, then says instead of saying, you never do anything right, I said, I feel stressed when things aren't done the way I like. Dr. Patel nods. That's a start, she says. Claire looks at me, waiting for praise. I feel something sad in my chest. Not because I don't want her to improve, because I realize how low the bar has been. I'm sitting here being asked to celebrate that my wife didn't insult my character. After the session, Claire says, see, I'm trying, so you can come home now. And something in me goes still again, because trying isn't the same as changing. Trying for 2 weeks doesn't erase 7 years of erosion. And coming home isn't just a physical act. It's agreeing to return to a dynamic that hurt me. I'm not ready, I say. Claire's face tightens. So what? You gonna punish me forever? She asks. I'm not punishing you, I reply. I'm figuring out if I feel safe. She rolls her eyes. Safe, she repeats, mocking. You make everything so dramatic. There it is again. The contempt, slipping back the second she doesn't get what she wants. I look at her and realize the moment in Dr. Patel's office wasn't a magical transformation. It was a spotlight. Claire couldn't name one thing I do wrong because the point was never my actions. The point was control. If the criticism is vague enough, I can never fix it. If I can never fix it, I'm always chasing. If I'm always chasing, she's always above me. I don't say all that out loud. I just say, quietly, I'm not coming back yet. Claire's eyes flash with anger. Then she turns away. Fine, she says. Do whatever you want. So I do. I find a short-term rental. A small one-bedroom. Nothing fancy. The first night in my own space, I sit on the floor, eating takeout from the container because I don't have a table yet, and I feel a strange mix of grief and relief. Grief because I didn't get married to leave. Relief because my body is not bracing. Claire tells mutual friends we're taking space. She tells my parents I'm having a midlife crisis. She texts me random small things like, you left your shoes, then follows with, you always leave messes, like she can't resist. I stop engaging with anything that's not logistical. I stop explaining myself. I stop trying to convince her I deserve kindness. And the weird thing is, the longer I'm away, the more I remember who I was before I started being treated like a problem to manage. I'm not perfect, but I'm not useless. I keep my job. I pay my bills. I maintain friendships. I show up. I can cook. I can clean. I can make decisions without someone hovering. When I do something wrong, the world doesn't end. I adjust and move on. It's almost shocking how normal life is when you're not constantly being graded. A month later, Claire asks to meet for coffee. She looks tired, not in a vulnerable way, in a resentful way, like she's still waiting for the world to admit she's right. She says, I've been reading about perfectionism and anxiety, like she's presenting a theory. I nod. Okay, I say. She leans forward. I didn't realize how much pressure I was under, she says. I wait. She doesn't say sorry. She doesn't say I hurt you. She just describes her own experience like it's the only one that matters. Finally, I say, do you understand what it did to me when you spoke to me that way? Claire's lips press together. I didn't mean it, she says. That's not what I asked, I reply. She looks away, irritated. You're still on this, she says. You're not letting it go. I take a breath. I look at her hands wrapped around the coffee cup. I look at the way she's bracing, not to hear me, but to defend herself. And I realize that even now, even after being confronted with that silence in therapy, she still can't do the one thing that would matter. Acknowledge my pain without making it about her. I'm not letting it go because it mattered, I say quietly. And because it wasn't one time. It was years. Claire's eyes narrow. So you're leaving me, she says flatly. I swallow. My throat burns. I think I already did. I admit. For a second, I see something flicker across her face. Fear. Loss. Then it hardens into anger. Unbelievable, she says. After everything I've done for you. And there it is. The ledger. The way love becomes a bill. I stand up slowly, legs shaking slightly. I hope you get help, I say. I really do. But I can't be your punching bag while you figure it out. Claire scoffs. So, I'm the villain, she says. I'm not making you a villain, I reply. I'm telling you what I can't live with. She looks up at me, eyes cold. You'll regret this, she says. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't know what I regret already. How long I stayed trying to earn respect from someone who treated my efforts like background noise. When I think back to that moment in Dr. Patel's office, the question, the silence, I don't feel triumphant. I feel sad. Because it shouldn't have taken a therapist to ask for one concrete example for me to realize how often I'd been living under a fog of criticism. But it did. And the silence did something to me that none of our fights ever did. It made the pattern visible. Claire could call me wrong 1,000 times, but the moment she was asked to prove it, she had nothing. Not because I'm flawless. Because you never do anything right was never about reality. It was about power. And once I saw that clearly, I couldn't unsee it. I'm still figuring out what the next chapter looks like. We're separated. Divorce paperwork is a conversation I'm not ready to type out in detail yet, because it makes my chest tighten just thinking about it. But my apartment is quiet. My mornings are calm. I don't flinch when my phone buzzes. I don't feel like I'm walking into an evaluation every time I open my front door. And sometimes when I'm doing something small, folding laundry, making dinner, choosing a bottle of wine, I catch myself waiting for the criticism that isn't coming. I'll stand there for a second, startled by the absence, and then I'll remember I'm allowed to be a person. Not a project, not a disappointment, not a problem to solve, just a person.